Hi, this is Chris again with Nightfall Audiobooks. We're doing something different today. This is The Dead Lifeguard by R.L. Stine. It's a Fear Street super chiller. When I sat down to do this show and figure out how it would be structured, I made an important design decision. Some books have chapters with names, like Silent Night. Chapter 2 of Silent Night is called Opportunity Calling. Chapter 3 is called A Violent Temper. Not all books have this. I had to figure out, did I want to call out the names of chapters in books that have it and not do it in books that don't? So I decided to get rid of that. I would not be reading the name of the chapter in a book that had named chapters. I would just say Chapter 2, Chapter 3. And I've been sticking with it, and it seems to work pretty well. This is only relevant because The Dead Lifeguard has named chapters, but they are from different points of view. Chapter 1 is from Mouse's point of view. Chapter 2 is from Lindsay's point of view. Chapter 3 is from Danny's point of view. I don't know what this is. I haven't seen this before in an R.L. Stine novel. I wonder if this was a ghost-written book and they put R.L. Stine's name on it because it had to meet deadlines, or if this is really an R.L. Stine novel. A few authors have come forward and said, yeah, that's not really his novel, it's mine. This is especially true of the Ghosts of Fear Street series, which sort of follows the Goosebumps formula, and it targets itself at 8 to 12-year-old kids. And the entire series is ghost-written, but it has R.L. Stine's name on it. And I think it hit a point where R.L. Stine became so busy he couldn't do everything. So maybe he licensed his name out and said, here you go, I'll sign off on it, but I'm not going to be able to write any of these stories. And that's okay. And lots of people have done that over the years. The Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew, those were all ghost-written by a bunch of authors. They all published under one name. So not only are these named chapters, and they are from different points of view, I have to really worry about voices now. So I think what I'm going to do, I can't use my voice for any character except for the narrator. And I think I'm going to have to record all of Mouse's chapters, and then all of Lindsay's chapters, and then all of Danny's chapters, and so on and so forth. Because it's going to be impossible for me to sit down and do a 45-minute to 1-hour recording session and just do 6 or 7 chapters in a row that way. I can't do it this time. Remember, I am not a trained voice actor. I'm just a guy with a microphone in my basement recording to have some fun in my free time. My very, very limited free time. So it's important that I do the best that I can do to get these voices right, to make me happy, to give you the best experience you can get. Since this is an audiobook and you're not able to read it on the page along with me, I feel that calling out the chapter and the person whose perspective it's from will be crucial to getting this story right. The only issue I have with recording out of order is that I won't know what the entire plot will be until I edit the whole thing together. And that's fine. I don't mind doing that. This is similar to the design decision I made when I was doing the Fear Street Sagas trilogy. There are parts of that book where the fear name changes from F-I-E-R, fear, to F-E-A-R, also pronounced fear, but you don't know that from an audio perspective, so I had to spell it out when those times arrived. And I think that's the best thing we can do. I'm eager to start this. I want to see how this will work out. I haven't recorded in this format before. It's sort of like a manuscript and less like a novel, but we'll see how it goes. So let's begin. If you want to get in touch with me, you can write me an email, nightfallaudiobooks@gmail.com. I'm also on YouTube at Nightfall Audiobooks. So tell your friends, tell your mom, tell whoever you think would like to listen to me, tell them tales from R.L. Stine. Thank you very much for listening, and let's get started. Welcome to a Nightfall Audiobooks production of The Dead Lifeguard by R.L. Stine, a Fear Street super chiller, Book 6. Part 1, A New Ghost. Chapter 1, Mouse. Hi, Terry. It's me, Mouse. Yeah, it's me, Mouse. Are you surprised? Can you hear me okay? There's a little static on the line. What's up, Terry? How's it going? I know you can't talk, so just listen, okay? You listening? Yeah, I know you are. Hey, Terry, guess what? I passed the test. What test, you ask? The blood test. Just a joke, Terry. I passed the lifeguard test. Really, I'm going to be a lifeguard. Do you believe it, Mouse? A lifeguard. It took a long time, huh? But I did it. Well, come on, Terry. You knew I'd kill to become a lifeguard. So I did it. Yeah, I killed a lifeguard. Why am I telling you? Because I know you can't blow the whistle on me, Terry. Get it? Lifeguard? Blow the whistle? You always had a great sense of humor, like me. I mean, that's why we were such good friends, right? Hey, Terry, I know you can't talk. Tell me something I don't know. I know you're dead. I know I'm talking to a dial tone here. I can hear the buzzing, you know. I'm not crazy. You know me, right, Terry? You know I'm not crazy. I know you're dead, Terry, and I know why you're dead. Because of the lifeguards. That's why I'm going to kill them, one by one. For you, Terry. That's right. I'm going to do it for you, because Mouse doesn't let a friend down. Even if you're dead, Terry, you're still my friend. You'll always be my friend. I just keep thinking about last summer, and the summer before that. I keep thinking and thinking. I can't stop. I can't stop even if I wanted to. And that's how I know I have to kill the lifeguards. Yeah, I know. I know you can't hear me. Don't you think I hear the dial tone in my head? I've got good ears. I hear it. I know you can't thank me, but don't worry about it. I'll call you again, from the swim club, up at North Beach. Yeah, I know you're dead, Terry. You don't have to remind me. I'm not crazy, you know. No way. Got to run. Later, okay? Tell everyone Mouse says hi. Yeah, bye, Terry. Take care. I'll do the rest. Chapter 2. Lindsay. I had packed in such a hurry I forgot to bring any sunblock. That was the thought that crossed my mind as I walked the 4 blocks from the bus stop to the front gate. It's funny how things pop into your mind, how you have no control over them. What made me think of sunblock? Certainly not the sky. I gazed up at the heavy storm clouds, so low and dark. I heard the rumble of thunder in the distance. The gusting breeze was cool and wet. I hope the storm passes quickly, I thought. Tomorrow is opening day. I want to sit at my lifeguard post and soak up the rays. I dropped my heavy black duffel bag to the ground and stared up at the sign, North Beach Country Club. Well, here we go, Lindsay, I told myself. Back again for another summer. I rubbed my shoulder through my t-shirt. The duffel bag was heavy. I had stuffed practically everything I owned into it, everything but sunblock. What could I have been thinking of? Escape, I guess. Escape for the whole summer. A summer to meet new people, make a fresh start. Back in the lifeguard dorm, living with 7 or 8 other kids, it had to be outstanding. Party time all summer long. The front gate to the pool area was padlocked. I'd have to carry my stuff around to the side. Another low rumble of thunder, closer this time, made me realize I'd better hurry. I gazed through the tall chain-link fence at the clubhouse. It appeared dull and black under the darkening sky. The clubhouse was an endlessly long 2-story redwood building. It was supposed to look like a forest lodge, I guess, only 100 times bigger. The rows of windows stared back at me like blank, dark eyes. Behind the clubhouse, I glimpsed the swimming pool, the water flat and gray, reflecting the sky. Beyond that stretched the tennis courts. I couldn't see the small guest house that was a lifeguard dorm. It was hidden by one wing of the clubhouse. A jagged streak of lightning crackled overhead. A clap of thunder made me jump. I hoisted my duffel bag to my shoulder and began to make my way to the side gate. The black clouds all rolled together. Around them, the sky had become a sickly yellow. Strange light. The grass, the fence, the lodge, nothing was the right color. Hurry, Lindsay, I urged myself. You don't want to look like a drenched alley cat when you meet the others. My ragged white high tops scraped along the pavement as I started to jog, bent under the weight of the duffel bag. I suddenly wished I had a mirror. I had left home in such a mad rush, I hadn't had time to check my hair. Had I even brushed it? As I walked, I fluffed it up with one hand. My hair is short and straight and blonde. It almost always falls right into place. But I constantly worry about it anyway. I know I'm usually pretty, okay? I'm not beautiful or anything. My nose is too short and my face is too round. People always tell me I'm cute. I guess I don't mind. I felt a cold sprinkle of rain on my forehead. Glancing up, I saw that the black clouds had completely covered the yellow sky now. A car rolled by, its headlights shining, even though it was still afternoon. I shielded my eyes from the bright light until the car passed. Then I continued on to the side gate. The tall chain-link fence shook in the wind. It made a vibrating sound, a steady hum. Through the fence, I saw the guest house, a small version of the main clubhouse. It was actually attached to one end of the clubhouse. The swimming pool stretched near it. I could see splashes as raindrops hit the pool. There were lights on inside the guest house, and I could make out the back of a boy's head in one window. Who is that? I wondered. Who will the other lifeguards be this year? Will I know any of them? Will anyone be back from last summer? The boy has red hair. His head bobbed up and down as he talked. I felt another raindrop on my head, one on my shoulder, cold through my cotton t-shirt. Shifting the duffel bag onto my other shoulder, I tried the gate. Locked. I shook it hard. It clattered noisily. A roar of thunder drowned out the clattering. The ground seemed to shake. Rain pattered lightly on the pavement. The air had that tangy, sour smell that always comes just before a storm. The wind tore sharply, first from one direction, then back on itself. I wished the red-headed boy would turn around and see me. Then maybe he'd run out to let me in. I shook the gate again. Then I remembered my ID card. The club had sent it to me when they okayed my application. It had my picture on it. Not a very good picture. Blurred, with me and my old haircut. My hair longer and sort of flipped over my shoulders. They said all I had to do was run the card through the slot by the gate and the electronic lock would buzz open. I set my duffel down, unzipped it, and searched for my wallet. I knew I had packed it on top. The rain pattered steadily now. The raindrops were big. They hit the pavement with loud splashes. My hair was wet. My t-shirt was drenched. I fumbled around till I found my red vinyl wallet, pulled it open, and took out the ID card. A car rushed along the main road, catching me in its headlights for a minute. I searched for the metal box to run my card through. In the guest house window, the boy moved. Another boy appeared, his back also to the window. Finally, I found the box, about chest high on the fence next to the gate. A tiny red light blinked on and off on the front. I slid my card slowly through the slot and waited to hear a buzzing sound. Nothing. The rain came down even harder, the fat drops splattering loudly. I'm going to get soaked, I thought. I shook my head hard, shaking water from my hair, and tried the card in the slot again. Still nothing. I turned the card over and ran it through the other way. The red light blinked steadily. The gate didn't buzz open. I let out a frustrated groan. What's wrong with this stupid gate? I asked myself. The rain came down even harder. The wind blew it against the tall fence in sheets. I was totally drenched. I rattled the gate. I could see the two boys in the window of the guest house. "Hey, can anyone hear me?" I shouted. "Hey!" My voice was blown back by the wind, muffled behind the splatter of rain. "Hey, let me in!" I shouted. I stared through the fence, and something caught my eye, in the corner of the swimming pool. What was it? I squinted, struggling to see through the curtain of rain. I gasped when I realized it was a girl, floating face down in the pool, her blonde hair bobbing on the surface of the water, her pale arms stretched lifelessly at her sides. A girl in a blue swimsuit. Drowning. Drowned. Gripping the cold fence, I raised my face to the rain and let out a shrill wail of horror. Chapter 3. Danny. We were all sitting around in the common room, just goofing, when the rain started. Cassie Harlow let out a shriek when thunder boomed right outside the guest house. She's the sexy one with the great bod, the big brown eyes, and piles of white blonde hair. It was a little hard to remember who was who, since we were all new to the club, but being that I'm the head lifeguard, the big enchilada, I thought it was important to learn everyone's name and help make them feel comfortable. We all got on Cassie's case for being afraid of thunder. "I'm not afraid. I was just startled," she insisted, in that sexy, whispery voice of hers. But when another boom of thunder made the window shake, Cassie squealed again. Okay, so I don't like storms," she confessed, tugging at her thick hair with both hands. We all had a good laugh. The little runty guy, Arnie Wiltz, said he liked to swim in lightning storms. He said he got a charge out of it. Bad joke. Everybody groaned. I hoped Arnie wasn't too big a jerk. I mean, I had to spend the whole summer with him. I don't know how many bad jokes like that I could take before I dropped him in the pool and held his head under for 5 or 10 minutes. I leaned against the windowsill. I could hear rain start to tap against the window at my back. I gazed around the room. The girls were outstanding, I decided, smiling. Cassie was a total winner. and the one in the pink shorts and sleeveless blue midriff. Deirdre Webb. She was okay, too. She had short, straight black hair, very sleek, very shiny. I usually go for longer hair, but Deirdre had the most amazing pale blue eyes. She was hot. I mean hot. The tall one in the corner, Mayanne Delacroix, however you pronounce it, wasn't bad either. She had auburn hair and cold, dark eyes. She was kind of standoffish, quiet, shy, I guess, but I wouldn't say no to her either. Outstanding, I thought, gazing from one to the other. Okay, dudes, let's party all summer. How'd you get to be head lifeguard, Danny? Arnie asked, grinning. You win a contest or something? No way, I told him. I lost a contest. Everyone thought that was pretty funny. Arnie started to say something. He had a grin on his face, like he was going to make another bad joke. Pug interrupted. Hey, Danny, is there any beer in the fridge? Pug looks like a lifeguard. I mean, he could pose in any magazine as your basic, typical hunk of a lifeguard. He obviously works out. He's got a perfect bod, and he's already tanned, even though summer is just starting. Pug is your all-American dude. He's got curly blonde hair, dark eyes that sort of crinkle at the sides, and a big, friendly smile. He looks as if he's never had a serious thought in his entire life. But who knows? You've got to like the guy. He's totally cool. Pug was sprawled next to Cassie on the leather couch, a red bandana tied across his forehead. The pirate dude look, I guess. I moved away from the window and started to tell Pug about the rule against having beer in the dorm, but a shrill scream interrupted me. I stopped and spun around. It sounded as if it came from outside. At first I thought it was just a storm, maybe the wind or something. Then I thought maybe a cat had gotten caught in the fence. But I heard another wail, and this time it definitely sounded human. I bumped up against Arnie, who was already staring out the fogged-up window. Rubbing my hand against the glass to clear a space, I saw someone, a girl, on the other side of the fence. She was screaming her head off. The rain was too loud. I couldn't make out her words, but she sounded really messed up. What's going on? Cassie asked. Who's out there? Deirdre asked, pushing between Arnie and me to see out the window. Who is she? Arnie and I went tearing out the door into the pouring rain. It was really coming down. Lightning flashed and crackled. My sneakers sank into a puddle, and I felt the cold water over my ankles. The girl was screaming and pointing. I couldn't hear a word. The rain was a roar. It was really a heavy-duty storm. Arnie was a few feet ahead of me. Our sneakers splashed up water as we ran. I struggled to see the girl. Water ran off my forehead into my eyes. She was totally drenched. Her short blonde hair was matted to her head like a helmet. She seemed really frantic and upset. What's wrong? She screamed something and pointed behind me. I was nearly at the gate when I heard she was screaming, A girl! A girl drowned in the pool! A girl drowned! Huh? I didn't react at first. I guess I was stunned, in shock or something. I just stared at the girl at the gate, my mouth hanging open. A girl in the pool! Look, in the pool! She screamed. Finally, I came back to life. I tried to wipe the rainwater from my eyes. A girl drowned! A girl in the pool! The girl's shrill cry rose up over the rain. I turned and, shielding my eyes with one hand, started running back to the swimming pool. My heart was pounding. I was running so fast, I slipped a couple of times on the wet pavement and almost fell on my face. The girl's screams faded behind me, into the steady roar of the falling rain. I reached the pool a few seconds later, breathing hard. Who can it be, I wondered? Who could have drowned in the swimming pool? The club is closed. Closed! I took a deep breath and stared into the pool. Blinking away rainwater, I stared again, up and down the entire pool. There was no one there. No one at all. Chapter 4. Lindsay. I was so embarrassed. I was totally mortified. That's how I met my new friends, the other lifeguards, soaked to the skin, a wet, shivering blob. As the red-haired one, Danny, and the skinny little one, Arnie, led me into the common room, I was still gasping and choking. My throat was raw from screaming. I just wanted to disappear, to melt onto the floor like a puddle of rainwater. My t-shirt was stuck to my skin. My hair was matted down to my forehead. My high tops were filled with water. I lowered my duffel bag. It made a squishing sound as it hit the floor. One of the girls, a tall girl with short, straight auburn hair, introduced herself. Mayanne Delacroix. She ran to get me a towel. But I didn't want a towel. I wanted a hole, a deep hole to sink into, a place to hide, forever. What happened? Why were you screaming? Were you locked out? What did you see? What were you doing out there? Did someone hurt you? I was bombarded with questions. Their faces reflected their concern and confusion. I couldn't answer them. I was shivering too hard to talk. I tried to wipe the water out of my eyes with the back of my hand, but more water just dripped off my forehead. Get her something to drink, someone said. Something hot. I'm okay, I finally managed to stammer. May Ann hurried back into the room and wrapped a bath towel around my shoulders. I took it and tried to dry my hair. My heart was still racing, but I was starting to feel a little more normal. Danny, the red-headed guy, had disappeared. He reappeared in dry clothes, a long-sleeved blue pullover and white tennis shorts. What's your name? He asked. I guessed he was the head lifeguard. He was acting like he was in charge. I told him. Lindsay Beck? He quickly introduced all the others to me. It was impossible to keep them straight. Of course, I remembered May Ann. She was the tall girl who had brought me the towel. A pretty girl with sleek black hair was named Deirdre. A big, blonde jock type with a red bandana was named Pug. They all clustered around me, staring at me as if I were some kind of freak or museum exhibit. The girl in the pool, I started to explain to Danny, but I stopped. How could I explain it? He shook his head. I don't know what you saw, Lindsay. There wasn't anything in the pool. A few leaves. I swallowed hard. I had seen her so clearly. She was wearing a blue bikini. Her skin was so pale. Her hair, floating on top of the water, was blonde, like mine. I'm sorry, I stammered, feeling my face grow hot. It must have been the rain. Shadows or something. I feel like a total jerk. Hey, no problem, Danny replied, smiling at me. He had a nice smile. I don't usually like red-headed guys with freckles, but he was cute. I needed a shower, he joked. Yeah, you did, Arnie, the little guy who had also run out in the rain, joked. I shook my head, trying to fluff up my hair. Then I dried off my arms and hands with a towel. May Ann had returned to the armchair across the room. She was staring at me, as if studying me. She had cold, dark eyes and a hard expression on her face. You really thought you saw someone in the pool? A girl with a throaty whisper of a voice asked. I'd already forgotten her name. She shook her head under tangles of white blonde hair. Wow. Why were you at the gate? Pug asked. The club doesn't open till tomorrow. She wanted an early swim, Arnie joked. You know, before it gets crowded. No one laughed. I'm a lifeguard, I told them. I glanced down at my soggy duffel bag. I know I don't look like one at the moment, but I am. Hey, lifeguards aren't supposed to get wet, Pug joked. It's against union rules. How many lifeguards are there this year? I heard the girl with all the blonde hair whisper to Deirdre. Deirdre shrugged. Danny had a bewildered expression on his face. He walked over to the desk against the wall and began shuffling through some files. Here's the list, he said, pulling out a sheet of paper. He smiled at me, but his smile faded as he ran his eyes down the list of lifeguards. What did you say your last name was, Lindsay? He asked. Beck, I told him. I felt so uncomfortable. I glanced down and saw that I was standing in a puddle now. I had to get to my room and change. I was still dripping. Weird, Danny murmured, twisting up his face. He held up the sheet of paper. There's no Lindsay Beck on the lifeguard list. Huh? I let out a startled gasp. I gripped the towel in both hands. This just isn't my day, I muttered, rolling my eyes. How could they leave me off? Maybe you're at the wrong club, Mayanne suggested from across the room. She turned to Danny. Or maybe she's the alternate? Danny shook his head. No, she's not. I felt a tiny knot of dread form in my stomach. Someone messed up, I told Danny, trying to sound calm but not quite pulling it off. I should be on the list. If I'm not a lifeguard here, why did they send me this ID card? I pulled the card out of my jeans pocket. It was wet, but the water rolled right off. Danny crossed the room and took the card from me. He narrowed his eyes as he studied it carefully. Lindsay, are you sure this is the ID card you received? He asked. I nodded. Yes. I glanced around the room. The other lifeguards were all frozen in place, staring at me suspiciously. Danny studied the card some more. Then he slowly raised his eyes to mine. Well, what's wrong? I stammered. Lindsay, Danny said softly, his eyes still searching mine. This ID card is 2 years old. Chapter 5. Mayanne. What is going on here? The girl cried. I felt so sorry for her. There she was, standing in a big puddle of water, soaked to the bone. shivering and shaking. She looked so pitiful and confused. Her name wasn't on the list, and she had a 2-year-old ID. Somebody had messed up. The others were staring at her as if she just dropped down from Mars. I'm sure that made her feel really terrific. Even Danny, who's supposed to be in charge, wasn't doing anything to help. So I decided to do something. At least I could help her get changed into some dry clothes. I crossed the room and took her arm. Come on, you can change in my room, I told her. Her expression softened. She looked really grateful. I helped her carry her soaking wet duffel bag, and we started toward the hall that led to my room. Lindsay turned in the doorway and gazed back at everyone. Wasn't anyone here last year? She asked. Her voice was shrill and high. She sounded really upset. Are you all new to the club? All new, Danny told her. He still had the list in his hand. Arnie is new to the planet, the big jock named Pug joked. Everyone laughed. Lindsay stared at them uncertainly. I was here last year, she said. I thought maybe somebody would remember. Her voice trailed off. Pug stepped away from Cassie. He'd been coming on to her all afternoon. He was practically licking her hand. I think she was enjoying it, too. Cassie was your basic flirt. She even flirted with the little Weasley guy, Arnie. I couldn't believe her telling Arnie how much she likes that little dangly earring he wears. The other girl, Deirdre, the really pretty one, she kept glaring at Cassie. I think Deirdre is interested in Pug, too. Pug took a few steps toward Lindsay, fiddling with his red bandana as he walked. I was a guest here last year, he told Lindsay. Who let you in? Arnie interrupted. Arnie giggled at his own joke. But I don't remember seeing you, Pug told Lindsay. Weird, Lindsay replied, staring fretfully at Pug. I don't remember you either. I was on duty every afternoon. She shook her head. Water dripped down her cheeks. Pete will get this all straightened out, Danny said, putting the list back into its folder. Pete tied to the list. He probably messed up, that's all, Danny said. Pete Harris is the hotshot athletic director we were all waiting to see. Pete is amazing. He has more energy than anyone I ever met. While he interviewed me for the lifeguard job last spring, he did 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups in front of his desk. Sure, he was just showing off, but I was impressed. I don't think it's possible for Pete to do only one thing at a time. He has to be doing at least 3 or 4 activities at once. Come on, before you shiver to death, I urged Lindsay. I led the way down the narrow hall to my room. Talk about your bad hair day? I joked. Her hair looked like a blonde helmet. She forced a laugh, but I could see she had a lot of thoughts running through her mind. She changed quickly, pulling on a pair of dry, faded jeans ripped at both knees, and a maroon and gray sweatshirt that said Tigers on the front. Then she spent a lot of time drying her hair, fluffing it with both hands, trying to get it to look like hair again. All the time she stared hard at herself in the mirror. Her eyes narrowed, her mouth set in a straight line. My room was pretty small. 2 single beds, 2 small dressers, a bookshelf against one wall, a small armchair, and a couple of end tables. While Lindsay was getting changed, I walked over to my dresser and peered into Munchie's cage. Munchie is my white mouse, my only pet. I don't normally travel with Munchie. It's not like I'm that attached to the little rodent, but my parents were traveling this summer, so I had to bring Munchie with me. I poured some seeds into his little cup. Then I turned back to Lindsay. How are you doing? Feel better? I asked. I just don't get it, she replied, biting her lower lip. Now that she had gotten herself together, I saw that she was really nice looking. Not beautiful or anything. Kind of perky. Cute. I really thought I saw someone drowning in the pool, she said, frowning. She shut her eyes. Picturing it again, I imagined. The light was so weird, I suggested, because of the storm. Probably something reflected. And why is my ID card 2 years old? She interrupted. I don't think she heard me at all. She was so deep into her own thoughts. She picked up the ID card from where she had set it on the dresser top. She glanced at it, then slid it into her jeans pocket. And why aren't I on the list? A short cry escaped from her lips. I know I was accepted. I know it's not my mistake. Pete will straighten it all out, I assured her. What else could I say? We heard loud laughter floating up from the common room. Pug was doing some kind of loud animal roar, and everyone was cracking up. When the laughter stopped, I heard Deirdre make a comment about Lindsay. Everyone laughed. I glanced at Lindsay, wondering if she had heard, but she still seemed to be lost in her own thoughts. Come on, let's go back, I said. You can just leave your stuff. She nodded. We walked back to the common room. Everyone had been laughing, but they stopped the moment we reappeared. I dropped into the armchair against the wall. Lindsay gazed around uncertainly, then settled on a folding chair beside the desk. You look a little better, Danny told her, smiling. Thanks, Lindsay replied awkwardly. I'm drier, at least. She turned her eyes to me. Thanks, Mayanne. Thunder boomed, shaking the window panes. I glanced at the window. It was as black as night outside. Sheets of rain battered the glass. How about a swim? Arnie suggested. You first, Pug told him. Dare me? Arnie challenged him. I think Arnie's got some kind of problem. I don't know what he wants to prove. It got very quiet. Everyone suddenly ran out of things to say. We were all strangers after all. It's not like we were old pals. Across the room, Lindsay was nibbling her lower lip, thinking hard. I leaned forward in my chair. I hadn't planned to tell her, but it just slipped out. Lindsay, I said softly, my voice breaking through the heavy silence. I know who you saw floating in the swimming pool? Lindsay glanced up, startled. Who? You saw one of the dead kids? I told her.